Let's get started, everybody. Welcome back to Tabletop RPG Time. I guess that's the official name. I finally wound up settling on that. Uh, don't mind me interacting with my phone over here. I'm just keeping one eye on the, stream stats or whatever. So I just get... Actually, I'm gonna put that off camera so it doesn't look like I'm just hastily using my cellular midstream. And it can just hang out back there. That's fine. Actually, nah, it's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Uh, so we are going to be working on Monster of the Week prep tonight because I want to have a bunch of mysteries prepped for this group that I'm running. And for context, the core concept of the whole overall story is that there is a thrift store in town that is selling cursed items and magic stuff to the town, and it's causing all sorts of problems. You know how so many of these cheesy stories are like, yeah, I bought it from this store and then I left it. It looked like the store had been closed for 30 years. Ooh. Yeah, that's the core concept behind this is just it's a thrift store that does that every, week, so to speak. Uh, Putting new and different things into the town. Yeah, I love the concept. As soon as I had the idea, I was like, I am keeping this for a Monster of the Week game. And I did, and now I'm doing it. So this is a setting that myself and the players built with Ex Novo together, called Aurum. It's a little coastal town. Do I have the map on hand? Even if I do have the map on hand, I'm not gonna be able to show it to you. Um, there's history in this book. Don't mind me flipping past a bunch of other stuff. Glass full of fury. Yeah, that's one of the things we did. Can you all see this at all? Like, can you see the text on page, or should I just flip to an IRL stream camera and just run that way and just write and talk? Because if this is entirely illegible, there's not much point of me having it on camera. I didn't think about that. This is kind of small text from that height, and I can't bring you down any further. You cannot see text on page. It might be worth me just switching to the IRL stream camera and jiggle jostling the things around. But in short, yeah, we have a whole timeline in here somewhere. This is a previous adventure. So this is the town's timeline in a nutshell. Uh, to summarize, people got here, and then giant bees happened while they were logging the local forest. Also worth taking into account that the text would be upside down. Is it upside down? Oh, it is upside down for you all. That's a good point. I don't know that I can. Well, I might actually be able to go into the filters for the table cam and make the text not be upside down. Uh, Video filters. Never mind. That's not what I want. I want effect filters. Can I mirror this? 3D transform, chroma key, color correction, dynamic mask, image mask, luma key, scaling / aspect ratio, maybe? Oh, okay, so this changes the size of the thing. So we don't need that. Yes. But can I... Is there a way... Oh, first of all, this is not focused correctly, and that's going to bother me. You forgot to grab hydration potions? Water is vitally important. So what if we just... Oh! Oh, that worked! Oh, cool! I didn't know you could do this! I didn't know this was an option. That's actually super cool. When did they install this? Yeah, when the heck did this 3D transform effect get here? This is super useful. Oh, yo, I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know that was an option. You know who really would love to see that interacting is Alternate. Could use that one real handily. Okay. Now is the text the right way around? Yes. I mean, you can't really see it from that height, but it's at least the right way around. So I will rename this. Uh, Direction readable. And we will just be able to have that happen. Yeah, it just flips everything in such a way that the text is readable. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Uh, I may just flip to the IRL stream. Just like take the table cam off and flip to the IRL stream. I don't know about that. I'll think about it. Also, that light does not need to be on. So, yeah, see, we're fine. Uh, anyway, I have a couple concepts that I want to expand on for this. But in a nutshell, uh, miners rolled into this area looking for salt caves. They found magic crystals instead. They kicked out the locals. In the process, some people shipped in an invasive species of bees, but they didn't know they were invasive at the time. And then there was a festival. Uh, there later becomes a like festival about squashing the invasive bees. Success, mighty water. Um. And then like there was a big old trench on the one side of the city, but a lightning strike back in the past caused a landslide that opened the trench into being uh, a big river. Um, the natives come back. The mining family invests in fishing boats. And then the bees come back. After they have like almost eradicated the bees, people reintroduced the bees for the tourists squish, and that's like that's the history of the setting in a nutshell. There's actually a good deal more detail there on the page, but it's fine. Uh, okay, yeah. This is an existing monster. Well, it was more. It technically I should have run it as a phenomena rather than a monster proper. Yeah, library. You have anything more to tell the class? What's up? Yeah, you're just gonna yell once and then not say anything more. Okay. Um. Yeah, this monster was. I should have run it as a phenomena, but I was trying to squeeze it into the monster box because two of the three people playing in this group have never played Monster of the Week before, and introducing a phenomena monster up top is kind of a lot because phenomena monsters are more involved. So I ran it as a standard monster. Essentially, there was a set of PC game uh, feelies, little there was a set of PC game feelies that made you believe that you were on the deck of a starship. And I had been watching a lot of Star Trek at the time, because I was trying to watch as much of it as I could before it got off Netflix. I was watching a lot of Next Generation at the time, and so it had big Next Generation energy. And the party, after getting whammied a little bit by the Feelies themselves and almost blowing up a radio station, and then using the radio station to turn off the Feelies effect on most people. They eventually find the guy that got whammied and unwhammy him. And then the monster right after that is called Glass Full of Fury. Essentially, there was this gluttony demon that got imprisoned in a glass sculpture. Um, and the thing that allowed it to be imprisoned in the glass sculpture was the fact that the sculpture's eyeballs were made out of the local crystal, making it magic. It gets activated by a moonbeam and starts eating people and causing all sorts of gluttony and stuff. And so the party tracked down the original statue while being assailed by this gluttony demon. The chosen in the party, by the way, who was played by Raz, uh, got bit by the gluttony demon, and then if you get bit by the gluttony demon, your body starts eating itself. It makes little bitty gluttony demon munch boys, and it starts eating at you. Well, because Catherine is a chosen, she has regenerative abilities, so she just constantly was getting munched at while her body was healing. Which, like, I didn't mean to make that a really fun counter move to play against the chosen, but it turned out to be one real good. Anyway. Yeah, that was a really fun one. Currently they're fighting a sponge monster. Uh what's the name of the mystery? I think it was like Grow a Vampire or something. Essentially the central conceit of the monster they're fighting right now is somebody bought a bunch of like 90s what is this called? Okay, yeah, I called the mystery Grow a Vampire, and in a nutshell, if the page would load, yeah, somebody got a Grow a Vampire sponge from the haunted thrift store, and surprise, it's a literal vampire slurping up all the people's fluids just rather than just blood, because it's a sponge and it's drying people out. And the sponge vampire has run away and decided to munch upon a lot of people because the party almost killed it, and then it was like, I don't want to die, and it ran. I love that horror aesthetic of super old popular things suddenly being haunted or evil. Yeah, that's actually exactly what gave me that idea for the sponge vampire. I was like, thrift store. What's in a thrift store? Oh yeah, old outdated products. Sure. Those little grow a vampire kits. And like there's a bunch of other like nostalgic items that were also purchased from the thrift store but won't come into play until the final fight with the big sponge monster later in the week. It's a whole thing. But let's focus on what we're here to do, and that is write new mysteries, not the one I'm currently working on, or the ones that have been finished already. Also, hang on a second. That's not shaped correctly. That's not the right item. I don't have the right item selected. Undo all of that. You are not the right size. Sorry, I just noticed that, and it would have bothered me until the end of time if I had not fixed it. It's also still not technically fixed. It's very slightly incorrect. Like, that is good enough. That's fine. It's like, it's clipping like one of the little baby scan lines on the layout. It's fine. So let's lock table cam here. Alright, 50-50. Do you want to have table cam so you can see me writing this book, or should we just have IRL cam on and I'll just narrate what I'm writing? In the meanwhile, let's start in. This is a monster called Smunkies. Okay, and then the concept, in a nutshell, is I think IRL cam would be better unless you're rolling dice and stuff. I'm not gonna be rolling dice, so let me text on screen real quick. let me just activate the IRL cam real quick. Just go there. Oh, I didn't know that could do that. Oh, that's going to be so much better for adjusting the table cam later. When we need table cam again. Noted. Ooh, that's upside down. There you go. Remove the text direction filter there. There we go. That looks fine. Alright. Boop. Yeah. As much as I was very enthused about the concept of, as much as I was very enthused about the concept of, oh wait, the BRB text. I forgot about this. We're gonna increase this in size in case I ever need it again. Put it right there. We probably won't need that. Like, but we'll keep it there. I don't have this source anymore because I have built-in captions. Sorry, I'm getting very immediately distracted. So, this mystery is going to be called Smunkies. And, somebody... Okay, so concept. Someone... buys a CD kit, but they just keep growing. And they're hungry for flesh. The auto white balance is really like... I need to turn that off. I'm sorry. Because it's making me look orange. I'm not usually one to care that much, but like, I'm not a fan of being orange. How's that look? Good. Like, I am not a naturally orange person. I'm this color. There we go. I think it was upset at my shirt and the way the light was. That's much better. I like that a lot better. Camera. Looks fine now. Glad to hear it. That was the goal. Okay. Stay. I'm also gonna center the shot. There's a bad for me if I don't. Yeah. Center myself in shot. Just know that when I am looking down, it's because I am writing. Okay, so the concept of the mystery is somebody buys a sea monkey kit from the haunted thrift store, and they just keep growing. You know how sea monkeys, like, they start out like they're nothing, and then you kind of sprinkle the little brine shrimp eggs in there, then eventually you get little brine shrimp that are about this big, is what it feels like. Yeah, these are just gonna keep growing endlessly as long as you keep feeding them, and the more food they need, the hungrier they get, and eventually, somebody. I could make that the like hook. I could just start with like an opening cutscene, like somebody standing over a bathtub, and they are cutting like a carrot or something into the bathtub full of like writhing brine shrimp looking guys, and they slip and cut their finger a little bit, and the brine shrimp and the monkeys go, you know. how would the party know that that's happening? It's one thing for me to, expose it. It's another thing for the party to know to check that out. Um, Honestly, I might just like make it because the players, two of them are teachers at the local high school, and the third player is like a teen who is going to high school. Are they a fully independent group? Um, yeah, they don't have like necessarily any ties to like a benefactor or anything. They're just kind of like the people who have had weird stuff happen to them, and so now they solve the weird things. Magnus, no more dig. Yeah, you just come over here and you sit down instead. Um, yeah, like so. Uh, the chosen and the mundane, two of the players, they've just kind of known each other for a long time, and like due to proximity to the chosen, weird stuff keeps happening to both of them. And maybe they have an informant, maybe someone who themselves are magical toy makers and such. I think that might come later in the arc when they actually start investigating investigating like what the gears behind the forum. Thank you. You didn't know about this, but one of the characters, the teen character, is playing a searcher. Like the teen character is a searcher, and one of their things is they spend a lot of time on like monster hunting and supernatural forums. So I could tie that in. Somebody else from town has posted on the forum, uh, in confusion, what are these bites? Uh, it's not the person who is feeding the monkeys. It's one of the neighbors who these monkeys are like, looking for something to munch because the person who had kept the monkeys uh was like, no, you guys don't get flesh. I'm not about to go Little Shop of Horrors on this. And so they don't feed them flesh, but the monkeys have tasted blood, and so they hungry. And so someone else in town posts posts on the forums, and it's just like their arm is coated in little weirdly shaped bites, and they're like, "What are these?" After that weird thing that happened in the town square the other day, uh, after that weird thing that happened in the cul-de-sac in Amber Oaks the other day, I'm real nervous, and that's what clues off. Jangles is the character's name, which I promise they're much more than just like a comic relief clown character. That is what I was worried Jangles was gonna be, but it spun into an actual character, so I'm like, whew, good, thank goodness they spun into an actual character. Um, which, to the players' credit, they are doing fantastically. Like, I was initially nervous. I am no longer nervous. I was no longer nervous like half a session in. I'm like, oh, good, this is an actual character. Like, it's one thing to like play the comic relief character in like a game where it would make sense to kind of have that kind of vibe. Like uh, if if this was more of a Scooby Doo type monster of the week, yeah, I wouldn't blink an eye at like a joke character. But like this wasn't exactly a setting for a joke character. So I'm glad they have avoided the temptation for them to be the just haha funny character start as joke and only stay joke. Like they're still clearly the comic relief character, like so much so that I wrote them a custom weird move called Cartoon Logic, but like they still fit with the party. Anyway, I'm off topic. Hook. After slices. finger feeding. Cartoon logic sounds like such a cool ability. It's a really fun weird move. Um and I hope it's balanced, because if it's not balanced, I'm gonna have to keep changing it, and I like what I've done with it so far. I tried to like start from the existing weird move for Monster of the Week. Like I started from use magic, and I was like, okay, now how can I like reskin this and jiggle the mechanics just a little bit so it reads like its own weird move. I was looking at all of the weird move options, and like weirdly the closest weird move that would have made sense for Jangles as a character was Weird Science. And I've had Jangles roll Weird Science for a few things a couple times. Uh, oh, my brain fell out. But I've also had them roll use magic, because they've done like, I conjure this small harmless item out of my sleeve, and I'm like, you're not supposed to have use magic without like, if you've taken another weird move, you're not supposed to have use magic. It's a whole thing about the game balance. Uh, so I was just like thinking about it. I'm like, why don't I just write one myself? Your neighbor leans on the supernatural stuff. Pringles is on. Oh yeah, Magnus, you show that paper bag who's boss. In by mentioning the Whitney. Folks. Plus, because one of the players is playing a chosen, uh, I can, if they roll well enough on their like roll for useful dreams ability at the beginning of the arc, I can just make that the opening cutscene. If it doesn't work, I can just give them some kind of nonsense about like shrimp crawling out of the freezer in a grocery store or something. Either way, very fun. Okay, so we have the concept, we have the hook. So now comes the fun part. The countdown. So the countdown is what would happen if nobody interacted with these things at all. Uh, and it goes from day to midnight in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. And basically, you use that as a way of building what the thing is doing based on how the party is progressing. This comes from the clock system that Powered by the Apocalypse is stealing from Dungeon World, and Blades in the Dark keeps clocks much more aggressively than Powered by the Apocalypse does, but that's another story. Anyway, we need to work on the countdown. Countdown day. So one of the first things these smunkies are gonna do, uh, without any influence from the party, is they're gonna start eating local wildlife. They're not gonna eat people yet, but they're hungry, and they need to eat things to get bigger. a wave of wildlife disappearances happens. Less bird song. Tracked animals. Disappearing, that kind of thing. But their hunger gone unslaked by munching on some various wildlife. I think it's too early for them to go after pets. Like maybe by dusk they start eating pets. What do they do after that? Maybe they ransack a grocery store. Ooh, I like that. I like that for shadows. So shadows, the next step on the clock. Grocery store. Ransack. Gardens. Ruin. And then dusk, I think they're gonna start going after. Like the next step on the clock is when it starts going after some people's pets. And usually like by dusk, you really hope the party has started intervening because if the party has not started intervening 3 steps into the clock, the last 3 steps of the clock are much more aggressive and happen much faster if they're left untouched. That's just a matter of personal taste. I don't think that's directly in the Monster of the Week rules, so that's kind of how I run it. Like, dusk is the thing that's like, oh no, things are happening. Everybody say hi to Magnus. Everybody say bye to Magnus. There he went. Um, I may actually wind up expositing about the cartoon logic move later in the stream, but anyway. So dusk is when people's pets start disappearing. Dusk. Only clue is big empty crustacean shells. Sunset is when they start. Is this a thing that happens over a single day? Traditionally, yes. According to the rules expect you to do this all in one session, arguably over one day. I don't do that. Um, I usually tend to have monsters be 2 sessions. One session of like setup and build up. Like bad things are happening. The party is starting to get some leads on what to do, and then the second session is they track down the thing and like set up a fighting area to beat on it and then wreck its face. And that usually takes place over some time frame between a day and a week. Um, Depending on how badly, especially depending on how badly the party has been like wrecked upon, because you heal 1 harm every like day where you don't get hurt and manage to heal yourself, and it takes a week, if not more time, depending on how much harm you have to take a long rest, so to speak, and get all your harm back. So I like to keep it at enough of a pace that the party is a little panicked about how much damage they've taken, but also they may have a little bit of downtime to plan with. Um. Anyway, where was I? Dusk. Okay, then Sunset, somebody gets eaten. Maybe somebody doesn't fully get eaten. Um, is it worse to have somebody completely get devoured by these things, or is it worse to have somebody like wake up, part of their like body gone and flee? I think I'm gonna lean in. I'm gonna have somebody like lose a hand, and they're gonna like flee to the local hospital, and that's kind of like that's the party's cue of you better do something or somebody's gonna get ate, because then the next tick is when somebody gets ate. Uh, that would be nightfall, and then midnight. These things have completely infested the town, and people are fighting for their lives. So then sunset. Major bodily harm is probably a better step than someone dying. I agree. I also like. I think these shrimp are getting smarter as they're getting larger because their brain is growing too. So maybe that's how they eat somebody's hand without them waking up. Is the smunkies have learned how to use Novocaine? Like they broke into the local dentist office and stole some Novocaine to eat somebody's hand. Also, that I fully admit that Smunkies is kind of like a goofy name to give these things, but it is far from the first time that that I have given something pretty objectively horrifying a kind of hilarious name. I've told the story about Pidge, right? I hope I've told that story. That's a good story. Okay, sunset, and then nightfall. Somebody gets eaten. Oh, pants. The name made me think they were going to be monkeys with slinky arms. That is terrifying in an entirely different direction. Can you imagine, like, ooh, what if somebody buys, like, one of those little, like, clappy monkeys, and it, like, duplicates itself slowly, and, like, it starts to evolve, so, like, these things are, like, one of them has slinky arms and is making louder noises, and, like, one of them has, like, laser eyes or something. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know if I'm gonna actually stick to that and make it a real monster, but that's a fun concept. I mean, it lines up with the it lines up with the haunted thrift store. You know, I'm trying to lean on monsters rather than phenomena because phenomena are too easy of a thing to get out of a thrift store. It's like, oh, somebody found a thing that starts a time loop. Ooh, somebody released a virus. Ooh, it's like they're too easy. I want to think out of the box to make monsters and uh, little symbol monkeys that are self-replicating and are now bent on world domination. That's a perfectly good like swarm monster. Is swarm a monster type? I don't remember the monster types. Oh no. I need to grab the rule book for that. We'll get to monster type later. Uh, I'm gonna sit on that swarm of symbol monkeys idea. We'll see if I lean in on that or not. It is a good concept, though. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Jade. Uh, then the last tick on the clock, midnight. Okay, no worries. Be right back. Sounds good to me. But yeah, on the last tick of the clock, we have hit midnight. The town is under siege by these smunkies, and they're eating people indiscriminately, and they've started to breed. They are going to spread out from Aurum into the wider world. Bonus points and for anyone who can guess where I got this idea. Because I am technically stealing this idea from somewhere. Okay, so the main threat. So, threats. The main threat is the swarm's monkeys. Uh, Obviously. They're big scary. Monster type. I think there's literally a swarm type for monsters. Type. Hang on. I need the rule book real quick. I didn't think I was going to need the rule book. I was like, oh no, I know the rules pretty well. I do, but I don't remember the monster types because I usually don't bother categorizing the monsters. Okay. Also, good heavens, it is warm over here. Hopefully that doesn't come across too bad on stream. Okay, hunters, playbooks, there are monsters out there. Hunter agenda, big magic, fights, harm, monsters, following up. Subsequent mysteries. First session. Where did I put this? Ha! Preparing your mysteries. 136. Feel free to follow along at home if you have the book. The threats. The monsters, the big bad, the smunkies that are about to eat a whole bunch of things. Minions, allies of the monster, usually like weaker creatures. Maybe like these things have talked some of the local sea life into helping them. That's a concept. So we're not just using the townsfolk as minions. Because I keep doing that, and I need to not do that, so they actually can care about the people instead of why are all the people in this town constantly assailing us? Bystanders are the normal folks who are involved. Like there's the town sheriff who is definitely going to be a bystander. They like to stick their nose into the problem and get in the way. Or like there's like the local popular girl Veronica, or one of her cronies Betty. The people. And then locations are significant places. So that's fun. Anyway, monsters. Monster types. So the monster types are beast, to run wild, destroying and killing. Breeder, motivation to give birth to, bring forth, or create evil. Collectors to destroy specific things. Destroyer wants to destroy the world. Devourer wants to eat people. Executioner wants to punch the guilty. Parasite, it wants to infest, control, and devour. Queen wants to possess and control. Sorcerer wants to usurp unnatural power. Tempter wants to tempt people into evil deeds. Torturer wants to hurt and terrify. And Trickster wants to create chaos. Honestly, probably Parasite would be the best type for these things. They want to infest, they want to make more of themselves, they want to devour as much food as they can uh, to continue propagating themselves. So, yeah, the Parasite seems the most accurate here. Uh, yeah, page 138. Type. Uh, infest, control, devour. Um, powers. I guess they're just big brine shrimp. Do they do anything special? I mean, I guess they're kind of like uh they're brine shrimp, so they're like I thought devour because how every event seemed to fit into devouring something. Yeah, that makes them fit the parasite archetype super super well. Um I guess aren't brine shrimp like bottom feeding plankton? So these things can really eat anything. Uh kind of just like to put their powers in a nutshell, they can devour things. Maybe they eventually like later in the what's the word I'm looking for? Later in the later in the session, the arc of this monster, maybe they develop some kind of like telepathy. Like they have limited telepathy to uh, command the local sea life. Well, then later on, if it progresses too far, they develop they can become more dangerous the longer a scene goes on. I mean, most monsters get more dangerous the longer they are left unattended. I think we're just quantifying how they get more dangerous. Like unstable and rapid mutation, a random table. Unstable and rapid mutation is a great way to put it. So they can devour things, obviously. Eat anything they can fit in maw. Uh, limited telepathy, sea life, humans, late game. Unstable slash rapid mutations. Uh, so that'll be the rapid mutation or genetic instability. I think that'll be a custom move that we apply to this thing. Like I roll some volume of dice and I pick from a random lit. I then use that dice to pick from a list of random attacks that these monkeys can have. That would be kind of their custom move. They kind of have a basic move of like a bite. Um, I don't know that I want to give them the bite that like. So the sponge vampire has an ability that stacks over time. Like it grab at you and it starts sucking away your fluids, right? Well, the longer it has a hold of you, the harder it can drain your body, so it does stacking harm over time. I don't want to use that again with the Smunkies, especially if I'm going to play them uh, right after the you know, the vampire, because then it just kind of feels kind of cheap. Yeah, maybe like a random minor trait, like some are telepathic, some are extra buff, so on and so forth. Yeah, I think I can roll that into the custom move of like unstable. Like I would probably would call the move I would call the move unstable or mutation or something, and then like each time the group of Smunkies attacks, a different one comes forward and it has a different gimmick. You know, one's more telepathic, so it can actually talk to the party. One's stronger, so it does one harm extra. One has a thicker shell, so it takes one harm less. You know, that kind of thing. So then, do we define its moves? Weaknesses. These things need water. They're shrimp. They are still mostly aquatic. If you dry them out, they're gonna have a bad time. Lack of water. I also think starvation. Like these things are constantly growing and constantly trying to, you know, eat everything. I think like you could starve this thing out and the monkeys would die as long as they could not find food. If I can write with my pencil. Starvation. I feel like I should give these things one more weakness. You know what? Let's go radiation because their genome is already so unstable from growing faster than it should. Uh, I think they're weak to radiation, so they can get impinged by cosmic rays or whatever, and it further destabilizes their DNA, and they're just dead. Okay, so that's weaknesses. Now we need to do attacks. So attacks. Obviously, they're gonna have a one harm bite, one harm bite, one harm close. Oh, I don't want to say. What's another good tag for this? I guess no, not infectious. I guess we did say these things initially bit the neighbor and like drained some blood out of them. That would be a really good red herring up front too. Oh, but again, the best way I could describe draining is like that stacking effect that the vampire has. We'll just say bite, one harm, close. Uh, yeah, just bite, one harm, close. Bite, one harm, close, sharp. Yeah, sure. Those are good tags. What else can these things do? Late game would be telepathic blast. Um, we're gonna call the custom move evolve or what are we gonna call the custom move? We're gonna call the custom move evolutionary scramble. Let's say. Zero harm. Uh, reaction. I'm gonna say they do it before they do something else. Uh, Zero harm reaction. Unstable. Could they force an evolution at the cost of health when they're desperate? I think it. Hmm. I like that idea. Like they can choose to take on a harm, so I can pick. Uh, like the swarm of smunkies can choose to take on one harm, so I can choose a specific effect or resistance. Zero harm, reaction, unstable. Roll for effective bonus. Move optional. Take one harm. Dies at end of scene. Pick from table instead of roll. Yeah, like sacrificing themselves for the pack. I like that. I also need my back build right now. Oh, that doesn't do anything. Never mind. Let me turn on a different light. That's it. That's a little better. Oh, it's flickering, but it's better. I like that, but I like that a lot. And then I'm gonna say Psychic Blast is one of the options on the table, and maybe if the party does not catch them fast enough, Psychic Blast just becomes a common move. Attacks, and then we need to decide how much armor it has and how much harm capacity it has. I never pay attention to the harm capacity of the monster. I just let it go. I let the party do as much harm as I feel is narratively appropriate, and then they kill the thing. I know you probably should keep track of the monster's health, so that it does not turn into, oh god, you are enjoying this combat too much. We've been sitting here punching this thing in the face for 1,000 years. Um, but I don't. So I'm gonna say these things have. I'm gonna say these things have one armor. They kind of have those, they have crustacean shells. One armor. Okay, then we need to write a bunch of potential effects that these things have for their unstable evolution thing. Maybe give them a health range so you know how long you want some things to live for. Uh, I'm just gonna lean on narrative convenience for health. I don't want to sit here and check harm boxes every time somebody does harm. I know that might be lazy of me, but it's what I'm gonna do. Uh, Evo options. Uh, +1, +1 armor is definitely an Evo option. Um, one harm psychic. Uh, one harm psychic near. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? There's another tag that will fit this very well. One harm psychic near. Uh, weak. Let's say. Another good tag would be like a gamma burst. Because they're so unstable, maybe they can produce radiation. Some of them. Uh, Actually, instead of radiation, let's have them emit light. One harm, blinding. Uh, One harm, blinding, close. What's another like good deep sea thing? Uh, oh god, can you all see that flickering? It's driving me nuts. Um, okay, so we did like a light blast because they're like kind of deep sea things. What if they shrink people? Like that's a little sci-fi, but like I think it would work. You know, these things were originally brine shrimp. Uh, Even better, rather than shrinking the party, maybe one of them just grows even larger. It does plus one harm, armor piercing. Uh, that's driving me nuts. Hang on a second. Plus one harm, armor piercing. Uh, is the white balance still doing that thing? No, and it's not auto brightness. What is auto exposure? That's the trouble. That's why it's doing that. Okay, I fixed it. Sorry. It's just big. Arm, large, armor. Ignore armor. I wonder what was causing the flickering. I think the automated exposure handling on this camera was just misbehaving. Okay, I feel like I need how many options do I have? One, two, three, four. I need two more options here because I want to roll a d6. What's another like suitably deep sea option? Let's say. Hmm. Maybe we could do something that like causes fear. Uh, yeah, let's do something that causes fear. Like maybe their skeleton glows or something. Like, yeah, like a one harm fear. Uh, Close. These things are going to need to get up in your face to cause problems almost exclusively. They have no range. The only range that they would have is if you're standing next to some water and they told camouflage like squids would be a fantastic sixth option. I'm keeping that. Thank you. Uh, One harm, fear, fear psychic, near. And last but not least is squid camouflage. Zero harm, hidden, uh, zero harm, invisible. Uh, what would be a good second tag for that? I don't think it needs two tags. Zero harm, invisible. Invisible weird, let's say, is the second tag on that. I know I said it didn't need a second tag, but it's gonna get one. Weird. Okay. So that's its custom move. That's this monkeys. Now we need to decide on like some minions. So, like I mentioned, the minions are mostly gonna be like sea life. And they're mostly just gonna back up this monkeys. Where's the minions page here? Help out action, manipulating monsters once. Okay. Using keeper principles, always say what you say. Keeper moves, soft moves, hard moves, monsters, minions. What page was the... On with the mystery. Cast your mind back to running the first mystery on 166. Yeah. Where was the page that I need? I should have wrote it down. Think about what's happening off screen. To do it, you have to do it. All the possible consequences. Soft moves and hard moves. Monsters get moves. Locations get threats. Use your basic hunter moves. Read about situation. Start a mystery move. Use your keeper moves. Always comes to a fight. Where is the thing I need? Alright, back to the table of contents here. As the game goes on with the mystery. Subsequent mysteries. Mystery creation, 240 is what I'm looking for. Large brain. Like, wow, why can't I find what I need? Monster types. Monster types. Example monsters. Minions, please. I would like some minions. Example minions. Minions. So we're gonna say just like some sea life minions here. I'm gonna put this in the book as a temporary bookmark. So minions. A shark. Sorry, my immediate thought was a shark. And they're gonna back up the monsters, or no, they're gonna be a brute type minion, which is its motivation is to intimidate and attack. So, honestly, is a shark? I feel like a shark is too easy as the brute type minion. You know who's a real? You know what marine life is a real dick? Dolphins. The dolphin is the brute. And the Smunkies have talked the local sea life into kind of uprising and causing problems for the humans so that they can live their life undisturbed by like all the fishing and stuff. Dolphins can be friendly, but they are also real a-holes. Is exactly my thought. Thank you. People talking on my cell phone that I don't need to pay attention to right this second. I'll read that later. Sorry, just every time my phone goes off, I panic about a Discord I moderate. It's fine. Okay, where was I? Dolphins are the brute type. Type brute, to intimidate and attack. What if there's like a rare chance for certain sea life to appear, such as like whatever name of the fish that balloons up is? Like a pufferfish? I don't know what we could do with a pufferfish. What type of minion would be like a pufferfish? So one of the minion types is a scout. I feel like people's like domestic fish would be a great scout minion because the scout type is to stalk, watch, and report. So like the party does not know unless they figure it out that everybody's pet goldfish and like aquariums and stuff are reporting back to the Smunkies where people are. I like that a lot. A pufferfish could be poisonous and put people in a daze. A poisonous fish of some kind would actually be a really good one to, what's a good one? I lost my thought. Like a poisonous fish would be a really good one for a guardian type monster to bar away, to bar a guardian type minion to bar away or protect something. Uh, I don't think that the dolphins really have much in the way of supernatural powers. They're just kind of dolphins. They're ordinary dolphins. Just mad because Spunky's convinced them. They just do like a one harm bite. I guess like they could have like they could have like two one harm options. They could have a bite option or they could have like a tackle option, I think. I also think that broadly anything in the water could be able to try and drown the hunters, the player characters. And like they roll probably plus tough to see how long they can hold their breath, and like after a while they start like taking harm from holding their breath that long. Uh, One harm, bite, sharp, close. One harm, tackle, blunt, close, stun. I want to say the tackle is kind of stunning, like getting essentially like torpedoed by a large fish shaped object would stun the heck out of me. Uh what did I say? The goldfish, like domestic fish. We're gonna call the minion goldfish, even though it's not just a goldfish. Goldfish type scout. Watch stock report. I need to write this in such a way that I can read it later. Stock report. Did I mention the table cam in the? Okay, good. I did not mention the table cam in the thing. Who is eating my zoots? Oh, cool. People complaining about their jobs. Neat. Sorry, I need to pay attention to that Discord because they have a bad habit of causing problems while I'm not paying attention. I don't think the domestic fish have any moves. They're just kind of like essentially like a network of informants. Yeah. Also, the dolphins can take 5 harm. I'm just gonna say that right now. Like they are not they are not super beefy or anything. Uh, one more one more minion. The Renfield's motivation is to push victims toward the monster. Uh, I feel like an octopus would be a good one for that. It's kind of like it's being clever, and it's convincing. Like it's you know how octopi are. They're very very smart and they're very clever. So like they convince people through their brain wiles to go look at something, and it turns out it's the Smunkies, and they get ate. So, yeah, I don't think it has any supernatural powers. How much harm does the minion do? Usually 2 to 4. Okay, well, I need to keep that in mind. Hang on. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, monsters are supposed to usually do 3 to 5 harm. So let's fix that. Let's back up to the monster attacks. We'll say the bite does. The bite does not do. The bite does 3 harm. Sorry, it's just like 3 or more harm feels like a lot. Even when characters have armor and stuff, they only have like hardly any health. They don't have hardly any health. Like for example, if I open Catherine's character sheet, they have 7 harm capacity total. Like I don't want it to be that deadly. So I'm gonna say that the bite does 2 harm, so it doesn't just paste the character. I'm gonna leave the psychic blast at 1 harm. I'm actually gonna bump the blinding attack up to 3 harm, just because like it's pushing out so much light that you're like, oh, oh, you know. Uh, yeah, we'll leave the fear effect at 1 harm. We'll leave the invisibility. A lot of scary and damage. Yeah. The monsters are not designed to be fought for super super long. Uh, yeah, we'll leave the dolphins attack, the dolphins bite attack at 1 harm, and we'll pin the tackle attack at 2 harm. It just feels like it should do a little more damage. Um, like I said, the minions are just going to universally take 5 damage, I think. Uh, what did I say? The last minion is the octopi type. Renfield. Or victims in through their clever cephalopod brains, they lure people into the Smonkey's hideout, or they lure people into the Smonkey dens. Because there's going to be more than one den around. Let's say. Let's say they can like sucker you for 2 damage, and if they are super super close to you, they can like beak you for 4. Just because that beak is, I know that's like that's kind of rude to make the minion have more harm than the boss, but like it's an octopus beak. Them things are sharp and they will take a chunk out of your arm. One harm. Tentacles. Four harm. Beak. Close. Grappled. One harm tentacles. Grappling. Near. Then four harm beak. Close. Grappled. Sharp. Okay, that's minions. So I don't have to come up with the wildlife's angry on the fly. So then that's previously designed mystery. Multi-part mysteries. You can build two-part mysteries or even longer connected sequences. Just build it like two normal ones, except at the end of the first mystery leads to the next one. That works a lot better when you do single session mysteries. Yeah, we did the countdown already. Locations. That's what's next. Honestly, well, we have to do bystanders beforehand. Bystanders. We need NPC names for that. I have NPC names around. Okay, bystanders. The sheriff's definitely going to be a bystander, just because they roll up a lot and they cause problems. Delilah is the AV club captain. That'd be a good one to include. Those are thrift store names. Jackson Jordan is the local jock. I don't know, we just used Jackson Jordan during the vampire mystery, so I don't want to, like, suck him into another one. Oh yeah. One of the other teachers of the school is Miss Clawthorne, because that's a super close name to one of the player characters' names is Crowhurst, and one of the parents of one of the children at the school was like Miss Clawthorne, and she's like Crowhurst. Clawthorne is the English teacher. It was a whole thing. Veronica has been getting dunked on a lot lately. Gertrude Clearwater. No, we already roped in Gertrude. Gertrude keeps getting sucked into this, and I don't want her to be like her whole thing is she just shows up and shows up and shows up and shows up. I'm gonna generate new people for this. Like I don't want to keep using the same 6 people that show up. Parents being silly, yeah. Part of the bit was this guy. This guy's parents are super super rich and they don't pay attention. So it was kind of funny for me to unintentionally forget character name for a second, and then we just leaned in. Edward Albertson is the official, skeptical of people who claim that the Smunkies are doing this. They're like, feel free to use my characters as random NPCs if you ever want to. I might. I might. Yeah, I'm trying to like slowly populate this town. It's like a small like Midwestern town. Uh, I'm trying to like slowly populate this town with like people. Well, I guess it's not a Midwestern town because it's on a coast. It's a small town, and so like I want to have a repeating cast of NPCs that show up, but I don't want them to be the same exact people every time. So we obviously have Edward Albertson, who is the town sheriff, and he's like, why are you guys doing this? As usual. For context, the official as a bystander motivation means to be suspicious. So they're very suspicious of what's happening. We're gonna introduce a new person. We're gonna say there's gonna be. Well, actually, I kind of want to rope in the AV club captain. We'll get there. Delilah can be. Uh, Delilah can be a gossip. She spreads rumor about the first person to get bit, who we will make a victim. Uh, Delilah will spread rumors about the person who got bit, saying that they just have a bunch of like bugs or something in their house. What's Delilah's last name? What's like a suitably nerdy AV club name? I don't know why I'm thinking Brown. Brown does not fit. Uh, Dang it. See, this is why this right here, this moment I'm having is why I write down NPC names, and I don't try to come up with them on the fly because otherwise, in the middle of the session, I'll go. So let's just like look up a list of last names. Last names. Do you have a mysterious, smug, smart person already? Um, Delilah, a little bit. She hasn't been really developed all that much. Let's go Delilah Anderson. That seems very, that's her name now. Anderson is the gossip, passing on rumors that these people aren't getting bitten by some mysterious entity. They're getting bitten by bugs. These people don't clean their houses enough. That's the problem. Not this monkeys. And then lastly, the victim. We're just gonna make up a new person. We're gonna make up a new person. Uh, who is the victim? We're gonna make them. Do I want to rope in Jackson Jordan already? Uh, I'm kind of tempted to have Jackson Jordan be the one that uh initially grow. Jackson Jordan's younger brother. Uh, what's another good J name? Not Jamie. Uh, do I wanna go with Jason? I don't want to go with James either. J names. Maybe just J. Just JAYJ. Do you have a Coast Guard already, or is the sheriff also in charge of that? I mean, I guess there's the coast. I'm not sure how much the Coast Guard interacts with. It is a coastal town. I don't know how much the Coast Guard like. Obviously, the Coast Guard has some kind of like base. Like there's little Coast Guard outcroppings in basically every like coastal town, as far as I'm aware. But like, I don't think the Coast Guard has come up yet. So let me page back a little bit. After J Jordan, just JAY Jordan. Did I establish that Jackson is an only child? I hope not. Um, Finally, the victim. Let's go. Martinez. Isadore Martinez. Yes, that's a name. Oh wow, the captions actually got it. Yeah, Isadora Martinez. She's a young girl, and she's the Jordan. She is her family is the Jordan's neighbors, and she's who gets bit by the monkeys initially. So Isadora Isa Martinez is the victim. They get bit initially, and they're outrunning the monkeys for the rest of the time. She's who gets her hand eaten. If the party doesn't react fast enough, I'm deciding right now. Actually, I'm not deciding that right now. I'm gonna decide that in the moment. Okay, so that's bystanders. We missed anything else? Locations. Locations. There are 10 location types. Honestly, I'm just gonna do like one location, like maybe two. Um, yeah, let's go two locations. Death Trap. The local aquarium is a death trap. It is full of potential minions for these monkeys to exploit. And we're gonna say there is a second location, a lab, uh, elsewhere in the city. Let's say just like an animal testing lab. Ooh, oh, I like that better. So there is a small like drug testing, for like jobs and stuff. There's like a small drug test place in a strip mall somewhere in the town, and in the freezer of this lab area, if you open the door and like jiggle the right things, there is a lab where someone has caught some of the monkeys and is studying them for their regenerative properties because they're growing so quickly. Who's studying them? I don't know. Maybe Issa's mom. Maybe Issa's dad. Issa's parents. I like that a lot actually. And some of the minions defect from the enemies too. Like if one of the pet goldfish is actually really attached to their owner, that would be a great way for the party to learn about the the goldfish spying on them. I'm not gonna set that in stone, but that is a good option. Okay, locations. The aquarium is a, what did I say? A death trap. A death trap or a den. The den is to harbor monsters. So local aquarium. Name for the local aquarium. Does the bay have a name? Hang on, I need to open the map. I will not show you the map because it is MS Paint nonsense. And also I don't want to heck with turning it on. The bay does not have a name. What that? This map is great. Uh, Harbor monsters. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that, but it works really well. Um, you know what? The Vermilions are rich folk. Uh, the Vera Vermilion Memorial Aquarium. I like that. I'm keeping that. The So Vera Vermilion is the matri is the uh so the Vermilions are a rich family in town. Vera Vermilion is, hang on, I wrote it down. Yeah, Vera Vermilion is the old matriarch of the Vermilion family. Uh, how many years before the campaign? 25 years before the campaign, and she's the one who started the fishing industry in the area. So, she using said fishing money, um, got the aquarium named after her. Vera Vermilion. Memorial Aquarium. It is a death trap. Harm intruders. And it says optionally a map or one or more custom moves. I don't want to make any custom moves for the aquarium. There's just a bunch of beasties in there. And then what did we say with the lab? We're just gonna go the easy way. This is called LabCorp Drug Testing Lab, which I think that's actually literally a name of like a chain of like drug testing companies called LabCorp, and I'm just like, yeah, sure, LabCorp. I like that. Type lab to create weirdness. If there was one, it would be like all the enemies have a telepathic connection due to the sheer amount of them. Yeah, maybe. We could just give it like a 5 harm psychic blast. Sure. I'll do that. 5 harm psychic blast. Okay. That is a monster of the week mystery in a nutshell. Uh do we have time for one more? We have time for like half of one more. Uh Now I want to build out a phenomena mystery. Um So the thing with Phenomena Mysteries is they're in the expansion pack Tome of Mysteries, and instead of being like a monster you squish, it is instead a it is instead a thing that you have to stop occurring. So like a time loop. Hang on. Yeah, phenomenon types: aliens, artifacts, biohazards, bubbles, conspiracies, corruptions, experiments, mutagens, panics, portals, uh, monster monster generations called a teratogen, or a zone. Uh, every phenomenon should have at least one custom move to describe what it does. Create custom moves for a phenomenon the same way you would for a monster based on the concept and abilities. For a phenomenon, weaknesses are not what allows it to be defeated or killed. Weaknesses are the secrets or discoveries that will allow the hunters to mitigate, undo, or prevent what the phenomenon wants to do. Create one weakness that allows the hunters to stop the phenomenon or its bad effects. If applicable, create another weakness that allows them to cure those who were affected. So, for example, the phenomenon is a time loop type bubble that has a town stuck repeating one afternoon and prevents anyone from leaving. This is literally perfect for the setting because there is a series of magic crystals in a mine in the setting, and it says it is caused by strange crystals that were discovered in a nearby mine. The phenomenon's weakness is that it must be able to radiate energy to create the time loop effect. If the crystals are contained, then the effect will stop. You you should create a countdown for the mystery as normal. However, rather than thinking about a monster's plan and how it will get worse, you should think about how the phenomenon will become more and more dangerous as it grows without constraint. So I've been trying to avoid phenomenon monsters because they were too easy. They're too easy to do with this, oh, somebody found a weird thing at the thrift store and it has changed the whole town. Oh no! But they're fun. They're really, really fun. They are inarguably my favorite monster type. Uh, they're so much fun to run. So I have a couple of phenomena concepts. Page 25 on that one. So phenomena concepts. I have a few lying around here somewhere behind all this. A hypnotic infomercial that gets people via confusion induction, convincing them to drain their bank accounts. The idea is it starts selling one thing and then it starts selling another thing and 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 it starts selling another thing, and eventually your brain gets so confused in the process of trying to track what this thing is trying to sell you that you are open to post-hypnotic suggestions, and it convinces people to drain their bank accounts into a charity of their choice. I could just say it convinces people to drain their bank accounts outright uh, to someone specific, but that's kind of stretching the limits of plausibility with hypnosis. You know, you can't get someone to do something they wouldn't already do. Uh, that is one phenomena type monster that I would love to explore. Another good one is a serial killer has been striking in town, but a high school rival of theirs discovered necromancy and has been resurrecting the victims. The twist was the original killing was accidental, and the killer has only kept killing to try and understand why people keep coming back. That one actually could be probably a standard monster rather than a phenomena. Um, yeah, like or like an artifact phenomena is really really easy for the thrift store because somebody buys a weird artifact and it grants them more power they can handle. Oh no. Um One that I would have to do more research to learn the effects of before I do is a space scurvy bioweapon that causes scarred wounds to reopen as your body develops aggressive scurvy. That would be a good like mutagen phenomena. I don't have the research on hand for that. I need to learn more about how scurvy functions. All I know is it is due to a lack of vitamin C, and so like eventually your wounds are unable to stay knit closed. It's kind of horrifying. I'm looking forward to running it. We already did the PC game feelies. Ooh, lingering capsaicin that gets hotter each time, eventually killing people. That would be a really good experiment phenomena, which is it's motivated to unleash dangers. You know what? We're gonna sit on that one. We got 15 minutes, so we don't have super long to work on it. So this mystery is called Some Like It Hot. And it is a... Ooh, I forgot about this. There's options for special moves for every playbook. So like some of the character classes, whenever you spend a luck, a certain thing happens. Like whenever the chosen spends a luck, some shit from their fate comes rolling at them. Uh, so like there's a lot of interesting special moves here. Oh, dude, I didn't know they included something for the meddling kid because that's not an official class. That's a fan made class. It's Scooby Doo characters, the class. For example, the Searcher, one of the player characters that is running is a Searcher. Searcher Special. When you spend a point of luck, your first encounter comes up in play. It could be a flashback, new occurrence, or related event. That's really fun. Like, I love the concept of every time you do something with your luck, something else in the story rolls in. Oh man, the Summoned? Is that an official class? Hang on. Because, like, the Summoned is a class that I have the sheet for here somewhere. New Hunters. The Summoned is not an official class. It's not officially in the book. But essentially, it is you are a summoned demon. And you are now here to, you know, handle monsters and stuff. I'm almost out of time. I need to stop getting distracted. So, Some Like It Hot. It is a phenomena rather than a monster. Phenomena experiment to unleash dangers. The more I hear about Monster of the Week, the more I want to play it. I'm glad to hear that. I love Monster of the Week. I love Monster of the Week so much. Like, admittedly, I'm a big sucker for Powered by the Apocalypse at large, just due to the sheer factor of it's the perfect amount of rules light for me. It still has enough rules to like broadly encase everything and like, oh yeah, you're doing this, so roll plus weird for your weird move, or like but it does not have so much crunch that I forget about things, which I already have that a little bit with 5e. That is not like the minimum feasible volume of crunchy with all of its optional rules. Uh, so like Monster of the Week really hits a sweet spot for me, and Powered by the Apocalypse at large really hits a sweet spot for me. I love Masks, I love Monster of the Week, I love what's the other one? Glitter Hearts. I have yet to play Glitter Hearts, but I love Glitter Hearts conceptually. Glitter Hearts is magical girls and optional rules for Power Rangers. Um, Monster of the Week is kind of what we've been discussing the whole time, so I won't go into that. And Masks is like Teen Titans type stories. There's a lot of really fun optional classes for Masks too. Uh, for example, one of the classes in Masks is the Legacy, and you are a hero who has uh you are a hero that has inherited your title as this hero. So think Wally West inheriting his title as the Flash. I played a legacy character called Beverly Barlow, and her whole thing was her whole family were acolytes of Kratos, god of I can't remember if it was strength or conquest, one of those two things, and so essentially she became an avatar of Kratos, and it was so much fun to play. It was like the polar opposite of everything I had played before. It was like a very heavily strength-based character, very barbarian vibe. Hmm. But I digress. We've gotten wildly off topic. So this is a phenomenon. This is an experiment monster, or it is a phenomena. The motivation is to unleash dangers. So the concept, someone buys peppers that have lingering capsaicin. So the more you eat, which wrote you backwards, spicier everything Yeah, it eventually kills people because they're constantly like sweating, and essentially they start having like bodily induced heat stroke. Uh, the hook. I think the hook is I can set this during the like yearly festival that's all about squishing the big killer man-eating bees. Uh, KBK Fest comes along. Yes, that's what it's called. People call it Killer. It is called the Killer Bee Killin' Fest. Because they used to smash bees in effigy with big mallets, and now they're out squashing the killer bees again because the bees that they reintroduced for the tourists to squish have escaped and have become a mild problem once again because they're an invasive species. Anyway, uh, the the KBK Fest has rolled around once again, and part of the KBK Fest is a chili contest. And a couple weeks before the chili contest, this someone is sharing their peppers that they grew from some unmarked seeds from the thrift store, and now everyone in town is like very sweaty. They're starting to have heart palpitations, so on and so forth. So the hook. Essentially, they have shared these peppers as a secret ingredient, and the whole town is eating the chili with these secret ingredients. And they're like, man, this is good, and they keep eating more, and it doesn't end well. We might also like, how spicy food is a little addictive, kind of. You start eating something spicy, you're like, but it's like it gives you that endorphin rush. I think because the capsaicin lingers, that endorphin rush continues on a low level, and like when you eat more, you get more of an endorphin rush. So it's very pleasant to eat. You don't notice that you're overheating, you're starting to sweat way too much, you're going red in the face, you're like your heart is palpitating, because you're enjoying it too much. Um, okay, what's next? I guess we kind of gotta phenomenal threat moves. Um. Oh yeah. The biggest thing why I have been avoiding introducing phenomenas is they add questions to the investigative mystery uh move, and that kind of gets confusing when it's like it doesn't need to be there. So like, how's the phenomenon doing this? What can fix it, cure, or slow it down? How far does the effect reach, and what will be affected next? Are the phenomena questions that come up. So like, those aren't exactly applicable. It becomes very obvious that a phenomena monster is at play, or a phenomena threat is at play, as soon as you reveal to the players, hey, you can ask these things. I've kind of done in the past where, while it is unclear they can only ask the standard investigative mystery questions, and then as soon as it's obvious this is a phenomena and not something attacking people, then they can ask the investigative mystery questions for phenomena. So what's this thing's weakness? Um, Weaknesses are the secrets or discoveries that will allow the hunters to mitigate, undo, or prevent what the phenomenon wants to do. So the phenomena uh, wants to continue growing. You know, it's a plant. So the danger is it is unleashing is the spread of its seeds and the spread of the capsaicin. Um, what would have I mean the obvious weakness here is like milk and sugar. Like maybe like a special ice cream needs to get made. So yeah, let's write that. Yeah, yeah, sure. Weakness. Super chill. Super chill ice cream with lots of stuff that would cancel out spice. And maybe like as a temporary weakness to like let the hunters get some words out of people who are like, they're dying of spice. Uh, oh my gosh, my freaking light! Stop flickering. Um, to let them get a word in edgewise. One of the characters' name is Blanders Glutenson, and it's been a running joke that his cornbread is so good the whole town loves it. So Blanders' cornbread temporarily slows down the problem. Because you're eating something spicy, and then you have a piece of cornbread, and it's nice. All the gluten and the sugars and everything. What if there was some weird thing the players can manage to put in the water supply to mitigate the issue? I mean, you're kind of on the same line that I am with the cornbread here. Uh, Honestly, a water supply additive would be a good alternative option to making the whole town ice cream. I might have to sit on that. I don't know, but like when I mean a lot of stuff that cancels out spice, like it would be licorice and fennel seed and mint and obviously like it's very very sugary and it's very like very rich cream. Like it would be stuff that they would kind of have to like think about putting together and then like being able to make a large enough batch to like feed the whole town is the real kicker on that weakness. Okay, weakness. No, no, no. Create a countdown for the mystery is normal. How the phenomenon will become more and more dangerous as it grows without constraint. Um, so initially it's just people like, getting a little faint. They're getting a little faint in the head, and then like people are actually like people are getting a little winded and getting a little sweaty and like, oh no, it's a little smelly, and then like, oh, that's just Magnus settling in his box. I was like, what is that noise? Um, Brain loading. E where was I? Yeah, like people are getting a little faint, a little sweaty, like people are starting to pass out. Then people are starting to like lose motor control. Like it just gets progressively worse, and like as as people at large are dropping like flies, maybe there's kind of like a what's the word I'm looking for? Mimetic effect where like people are more and more compelled to like find these plants, make more of these plants, so they're trying to get the plants to spread. Uh, does it make sense for the peppers to have a mimetic effect? I mean, not really, but it's fine. I'm doing it. Um, yeah, bystanders in places as usual, people taking advantage of or believing they control the phenomenon. There's definitely gonna be some people taking advantage of the fact that like giving someone even a small volume of this pepper is going to incapacitate them. Like, maybe Veronica is, like, trying to date someone, and Veronica is, like, the stereotypical mean girl. It's a magic plant, of course it can. Yeah, this isn't, like, a standard plant. I think, like, for example, Veronica may, like, dose somebody's lunch with it to get rid of them for a little while, and then, oh no, it doesn't go well. That kind of thing. So let's think about the clock here. So uninterrupted day, one person faints, and more people are compelled to try these specific chilies. I think once I finish the countdown, I need to be done for the night, but I do need to finish the countdown first, or I will not remember it. My hair would stay put. Shadows. Uh, more and more people are fainting. One person, like, stop. No, it's too early for somebody to die. Um, let's say people are compelled to produce more of the plant at this point, and it just kind of ramps up from there. More people faint. Your local botanist is compelled to uh compelled to propagate this plant as much as possible. Uh, and then dusk. People are visibly could started a rumor and everybody going, "Oh man, you heard of this place that has incredible chili?" That'd be a great way to transplant it out of the setting, and just kind of like have it start as a rumor from a single restaurant. Um, so then, dusk. People are eating almost against their will as they're enjoying this endorphin high. And then sunset, somebody dies. Somebody dies. Somebody dies. Somebody has a heart attack. Like their body is racing and racing and racing to try and keep up with all this heat, and their heart gives. And then nightfall, as more and more people are like becoming comatose and dying, the whole town basically has had some volume of this chili and are raving about planting more of this pepper. And then finally, midnight, the only people alive in the town are people who, perhaps it's something about the exposure to the pollen of these plants, but the only people alive in the town are people who were willing to tend to these pepper plants, and they are mass producing the peppers, drying the seeds to send off elsewhere in the world. Just stockpiling them essentially and preparing to send them all over the world. Maybe they're making, bespoke hot sauces and stuff, prepared to be shipped anywhere and everywhere that is not Aurum. Again, this is in terms of a week, right? The time system confuses my brain, even if I understand it, because it makes it sound like a single day thing. So the time system is essentially like a metaphorical clock. It does not necessarily have to. Each step is if the hunters fail to stop it. So, like, let me read from the book here about the mystery clocks, because the book is much better about explaining it. Revised edition, what you should read, structure, feedback, playbooks. Coming up. On with the mystery. Use the countdown, 2:05. Use the countdown. Mark off the steps on the countdown if the corresponding event happens in play or when you decide it has happened off screen. Advancing the countdown isn't one of your moves by itself, but it represents a move that was just made or is about to be made. Good times to advance the countdown are when you announce off-screen badness that warns about the event about to happen. A hunter blows an investigate move that could have led to finding out about the next event. You make a move for a threat that completes the next event, or a hunter misses a move roll attempting to stop that next event. Uh, as for, as the countdown is what would happen if the hunters didn't interfere, you will usually need to revise the plan based on what happens in play. The important thing that is the count is that the countdown provides you with a guide as to what the bad guys are trying to do. So essentially, you and more broadly the players are setting the timetable on which the clock ticks downward. The clock is merely just a series of guided steps that happen when the hunters fail or when something happens off screen and they weren't there to stop it. That kind of thing. And like I said, the clock is initially written without the hunter's influence, as though none of the characters were there, as though they were all on vacation, and then they would come back to what has happened when the clock reaches midnight. Okay, I will finish writing the rest of this mystery off screen, but because I'm out of time for the night. But this was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing this. I really enjoy Monster of the Week, and I love how low prep it is. It makes my life so much easier. For another example of a mystery that has sorry, this is a cutscene. This is some masks prep. This is my book that's all of my not D&D prep. So I have to find it. Ooh, here's another good one. Another good mystery. Satanic Panic, Phenomena Portal. Draw players into a D&D setting. Essentially, somebody finds a set of dice that were originally used by Gary Gygax in the writing of D&D as a chainmail supplement, and because of that significance to the hobby of D&D as a whole, they have essentially gained the ability to suck people into the D&D setting in which they're being played with, and it literally occurs like the characters for the Monster of the Week game get isekai'd into D&D, and then you switch games from Monster of the Week to whatever version of D&D you want to run. It is a pain in the neck to run, but it is so much fun, especially if you like make it clear to the players like, hey, something is going to happen to your characters that I need to know your stats, and I will give you character sheets based on those on your existing monster stats. Like if you make it clear that they're going to get isekai'd somehow, they are going to be so nervous as to like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What's the thing that's gonna get me? You know? It's such a fun it's such a fun mystery, and like literally let me read the countdown here because that's a good summarization of the thing, and then I really need to be done. So countdown day. Aggie, who is the Aggie Tosh, who is part of the D&D club. Aggie, after begging a few people, or after getting a few people whammied by the dice, disappears herself into the game. The college, because I set this in a college for a college D&D group that's playing in the basement of a library, the college, concerned, pauses the D&D club, revealing that Aggie was the DM of the campaign. Then the next step, stubborn students continuing to play spread the effects of the dice to townsfolk. So people essentially are like, this game of D&D has been so good and I've been so immersed, I need to keep playing. And so they keep playing based off of Aggie's DM notes. And then the next one, Betty has been affected by the dice, and so she is constantly in character. So that's kind of what happens is as this effect spreads further, people are mentally in the setting of the game without physically being there. You have to physically touch the dice to be physically in the setting, but mentally it can spread further. So Betty has been affected, acting as though she's an orcish fighter. The next one, the next step right before midnight is nightfall. Mass townsperson disappearance overnight. Government officials are involved, so a mass of the townspeople are sucked into this D&D setting. Just completely disappearing to the outside world. And finally, midnight, the library basement, where the table is placed, begins to become a fantasy setting for real, attracting local tourists en masse and gaining more and more power. It's implied that the world is collapsing into Greyhawk. Because, surprise, playing with these dice has shifted your setting to Greyhawk. Essentially, like, if things get bad enough, these dice are turning the real world into Greyhawk slowly, and it just continues to consume the town of Lake Geneva, which is where I set this originally. That's why they had a set of Gygax's dice. But it's such a fun mystery to run. It's also so hard because you have to run, especially if different members of the party get isekai'd separately, you have to run both. You have to switch between Monster of the Week and Dungeons and Dragons as you're playing. It's kind of a pain. And then I have like a set of several D&D encounters. Like there's a mind flayer, that has a mind witness, or there is a set of modrons, or there's a beholder. Or there is a set of 5 displacer beasts, or an adult white dragon. Like, you essentially, like, about halfway through the mystery, at least if you run it like I did, About halfway through the mystery, the party gets isekai'd into D&D, and then you're playing D&D for the rest, for like a majority of the rest of the mystery, because after you defeat the monster, the effects start to go away. Yeah, it's really really fun. Like just people are slowly getting devoured by this D&D game, and that's why it's called uh, that's why it's called Satanic Panic, because people are literally getting sucked into the game. It's it's a really fun and it's really fun. It's really hard, but it's really fun. You could also like take that mold and apply it to literally every other tabletop RPG on the face of the planet. Stillfleet would be a really good one. Uh, but anyway, I am over time. I have digressed a great deal. Today we worked on some Monster of the Week prep. We have a mystery and a half finished, and I'll finish the other half of that mystery later. Tune in later this week for either a book that I uh, was originally planning on reading in October, but now I'm reading it now, or something that I've been emailing back and forth about with the authors. Either way, it's going to be really fun. New book. I want to make that abundantly clear. New book Friday. New book Friday. That means best time to jump in. Uh, Next Monday is definitely going to be Crypt Keeper. Because I was like, oh yeah, we'll do Crypt Keeper or Monster of the Week prep tonight. And whichever one wouldn't have won the Twitter poll gets to play next week. That's Crypt Keeper. I'm looking forward to Crypt Keeper. We need the table cam for it. It's a Carta game. I mentioned it in passing the other day before we played Borealis. And I'm looking forward to it. I think that's all the programming notes for now. I'll see you. I'll see you Friday for paper cuts, and I hope you all had as good of a time as I did doing this Monster of the Week prep. Go play some tabletop games with your friends, please. Have a great week, everybody.